What is it in life that gets you out of bed every morning? What do you care about? Who are you? These questions get at the heart of sense of purpose. And based on the conversations we've had this month on the Summit Sparks podcast, if you want to live your best life, developing strong purpose is where it's at. And educators, all educators, from professional teachers to parents to local business owners, have an essential role to play in helping young people develop a strong sense of purpose. Listening back to this month's conversations, one thing became clear. There's a lot to unpack with sense of purpose. So maybe it's best that we start with a definition of what sense of purpose is.
Purpose gives you a long-term compass that keeps you on track.
A sense of purpose is something that is going to drive you, it's going to motivate you, but it's not necessarily ever going to stop at one thing and just stay there. And that's 100% fine.
People with a sense of purpose know who they are. They know what their values are. They know what motivates them. They understand what society has to offer them. And they take advantage of opportunities to make choices that are aligned with who they are.
Purpose is about finding your place in the world and living your passion. That sense of belonging and that internal fire are the keys to fulfillment, and I think that everyone deserves to have that.
This definition is like a verbal quilt. Each perspective is distinct, but connected, the whole greater than the sum of its parts. And that, I think, gets at the essence of sense of purpose. Sense of purpose is not a term that kids or even most adults use in the course of everyday conversation. But what's important in developing purpose is that individuals understand who they are and what they're about, and ultimately what gets them excited to wake up each day and make the most of it. If you talk to any of our guests, it's never too early to start that exploration and development. And it starts with building awareness, both a sense of self-awareness, but also of one's place in the world. For most of us, this starts with our first community, our families. As Stanford University's Bill Damon tells us, it's helpful to remember that purpose touches many areas of a person's life, and there's no such thing as a purpose that's too small or too big.
All of us, in fact, ultimately have multiple purposes that drive our lives. Purposes can be heroic, they can be noble, they can try to change the whole world, or they can be ordinary. They can be wanting to get a good job to support your family or be a good citizen. And all of the kinds of purposes that we look at have served to help young people find a good direction in life that gives them stability, gives them continued motivation to accomplish their goals.
A big part of education for young people is observing and mimicking the adults in their lives, faking it until they make it. Remember what Bill Damon said about purpose ranging from the everyday ordinary to the heroic. Sharing purpose doesn't have to be on the level of a world leader, though it certainly can be. It can start with being a loving and responsible family member and extend to being aware of our actions and behaviors with friends, coworkers, and others. When I was teaching, there was nothing my students enjoyed more than discussing why I'd chosen to be a teacher and why I enjoyed what I did. Discussing why we've chosen our day or night jobs and other interests is another essential way to demonstrate purpose with students and young people. Or, as is sometimes the case, sharing why making a change in our daily work and interests would better align with our values and bring more meaning to our lives. In the classroom, exposing students to as many opportunities to explore purpose is an important responsibility. So is helping students identify their own interests and strengths, and then helping them set short and long-term goals necessary to explore individual pathways. But delivering opportunities starts with a daily challenge. That teachers and administrators question and leave assumptions and stereotypes about students at the doorstep. It's a lot to ask, but it's super important. Offering up a fuller menu of opportunities, and not a fixed price menu, so to speak, can be key in students discovering what they're really about. And educators can start small in the classroom. I like to think of concentric circles. Start with classroom and school communities in the center. Have students look around and practice asking what they'd like to learn about or what problems they might be able to solve. Teachers are the orchestrators, helping decide where students can help out and how those opportunities overlap with the curriculum. And as echoed by many of this month's guests, including Princeville High School teacher Ann Kralicki, the earlier we start exploring these opportunities, the better.
I think if you're not exploring that sense of purpose early in life, it can be really difficult to find it later. Sometimes students see education as something that they kind of have to get through so that they can get on with or to their lives. And what we need to do in education is show them that their lives and their education are closer to synonyms than antonyms.
Because as we all know, and as Princeville High School junior Emily Green told us, life has a lot to offer, and making decisions about how we want to contribute requires time and experience.
I'm still not 100% sure what I want to do in the future.
Me neither.
It's okay. Join the club. But I've definitely learned that I could be happy in a lot of different areas, and I think that whatever comes my way, I think that I'll be able to adjust. I definitely think that I learned that I like challenges.
Moving beyond the classroom and school, educators can expose students to real-world learning opportunities in their local communities. Teacher Ann Kralicki and student Emily Green's interview is a great case study of how a class served as the marketing team for a member of their local community whose goal was to raise funds for restoration of a local park. Assessment still plays a key role in developing purpose, although this goes far beyond tests. After speaking with experts this month and admittedly drawing on my own intuitions as a former teacher, it seems the best way to figure out if students are making progress and building self-knowledge and awareness is to ask really great questions. As Bill Damon told me in our interview, young people love to be asked questions. And teachers and mentors can ask a range of questions, from what did you feel went well for you this week in biology class, to the hard, sometimes unanswerable questions like, what would you like to say about your life at the end of it? Prompt students to self-reflect and encourage feedback from peers and other important people in their life as another form of assessing students' progress toward developing strong sense of purpose. I'm sure student Emily Green and her teacher Ann Kralicki would also remind us not to underestimate student voice and choice in helping shape learning products or outcomes. Not all communities have the same opportunities. These will be as diverse as the students and educators who make up each school and local community. And as Summit Public Schools co-founder and CEO Diane Tavenner can attest, allowing students to contribute ideas that are relevant and that matter to their lives can be a transformative ingredient in building student motivation to learn.
Everyone can do really amazing things when they're motivated. And when they're not motivated, not a lot gets done. And so at the heart of achieving in school or learning or developing or growing is what motivates us. And a sense of purpose of the why is what's going to drive that.
And some teachers will witness students who continue to push the boundaries and explore how their interests align with a global and interconnected community. Christina Bachold, Assistant School Director of Expeditions for Summit Schools, shared one such student story with us.
One of my students, for example, did an entire project on the school-to-prison pipeline, and she is a Cambodian refugee, and talked specifically about the pathway for Cambodian students that typically falls into the school-to-prison pipeline, and that's something that I don't know that she would have had the exposure to in a normal traditional setting.
The benefits of developing an individual's sense of purpose go far beyond individual interests to impacting families, friends, colleagues, and people with whom we interact with on a daily basis. If we can encourage all students to build self-awareness, to learn and grow, and to find fulfillment in the everyday, perhaps in the end, we reach an ideal but not impossible outcome of a great education, a diverse but more unified and harmonious world.
If they do leave with some heightened self-awareness that allows them to find aspects of life that leads to a higher quality of life, then I think that our world in general improves in the day-to-day interactions, in what is possible, what we create. I think that it goes, it's a ripple effect that just goes on and on and on.
To all educators, here's to keeping the ripple effect moving on and on. Thanks for joining us this week on Summit Sparks. In February, we'll bring you a story about teacher preparation and empowerment in a changing educational K-12 landscape, featuring an interview with Stanford's Linda Darling-Hammond. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes so that you don't have to think about missing this story. You'll get updated as soon as that episode is released. You can also find the Summit Sparks podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Find out more about Summit Learning by visiting our website at summitlearning.org.